Michelle Caruana from Play Cafe Academy, and if you guys have been following my YouTube channel or any of my social media posts for a while, then you probably already know that we made a bittersweet announcement about this particular location of our indoor playground a couple days ago. And again, if you guys have been following me for a while, I talk about this location a lot and the struggles that we've had with it and the mistakes that we made when we first opened it. So if you guys are curious, or if you guys, again, haven't been following me for a while, I will fill you guys in. So we have currently 2 locations of indoor playgrounds, and they're about 35 minutes apart from each other. This was our first location. We opened in 2015, so we have now been here for 5 years, and our lease is up at the end of this month. And we had to make a really tough decision, and because of the issues that I've covered before with regards to the rent and things like that, which I'll get into more specific detail in a few minutes, we decided to actually not re-sign our lease, and we will be relocating this location of our indoor playground in the fall. And a couple caveats with that, and again, if you're in Play Cafe Academy or Playmaker Society, this is something that I've been working on for almost a year. And again, when you sign a 5-year lease, you're really spending that entire last year making these tough decisions. So whether or not you're going to resign, whether or not you're going to relocate, whether or not you're going to close, whether or not you're going to sell, because it's much easier to sell a business at the conclusion of a lease because it gives the new owners a lot more options and a lot more flexibility. So we actually made a couple tough decisions. So not only did we decide to not re-sign our lease, which again, I'll get into the reasons in a second, we also decided that our family is going to move. So we're gonna be moving a couple hours away, back where we grew up. So we're actually not gonna be in the area anymore. So even though we did decide to reopen this location of our indoor playground, kind of where it is, not in the exact location, but in the same town, we ended up selling it to new owners. So we are very, very excited. We didn't sell the physical location because again, we rent, and we decided not to re-sign our lease when we found these new owners. But we sold all of the business assets. So the 2 playhouses are actually going to our other location on the west side of town, the one that's 30 minutes away. But our name, all of our other business assets are going to be transferred to new owners. So we are going to be very involved in helping them reopen. We're already deciding between a couple different locations, and we're just so excited. And one of the biggest reasons that I wanted to sell this physical location is because, first of all, it's pretty small. It's 2,500 square feet. And my son, who was just a little tiny baby, he wasn't even crawling when we first opened, and my other son wasn't even, conceived yet. So now he's 5 and he's gonna be going into kindergarten, and it's pretty small. It's very specific to babies and toddlers, and my kids just don't enjoy coming to work with me as much as they used to. They love being big helpers. They love sweeping and cleaning and helping mommy organize the toys, but it's just not as involved as a family as I would like it to be, as it was in the beginning. So I just made the decision that I really wanted to pass the torch of this physical location ownership to a new family with young children, and that's exactly who we found. So we are so excited, and again, we are gonna be very much involved, but we're moving a couple hours away. So we haven't quite decided yet exactly what we're gonna do when we move. We have a lot of decisions to make personally, like where exactly we're gonna live. We have to sell our house and buy a new house. So a lot of people have been asking me if I plan on opening another indoor playground there, but we're kind of just trying to take it one step at a time right now. So we're, again, very, very excited. And if anything, it's more likely that we're gonna be continuing to license locations. And again, I am going to be still very, very, very much active here. If anything, I'm gonna be a lot more active. I'm still going to do a weekly video. I'm still going to do a weekly blog. I'm going to be still extremely active in Play Cafe Academy and Playmaker Society, because now I'm going to be able to dedicate all my time to it. And in this video, again, I'm going to talk about why we came to this decision and what's next. But I'm also planning an entire video series about what it looks like to close a physical location, how we found new owners, how we sold the business, that type of stuff. That's not going to be included in today's video, but I am planning a lot of that great content. I just want to make sure that everything gets finalized before I go ahead and do that. So the biggest reason that we decided not to re-sign our lease at this location was that it's again, we made some mistakes when we were doing the planning for this for sure, and I take full responsibility for that. And luckily, if you guys are inside Play Cafe Academy, you guys will not make the same mistakes I did because I share all the nitty-gritty details with them. But basically the biggest mistake here is that we don't have any extra classroom, we don't have a private party room, we don't have a nursing room, we really don't have any closed off space for either classes to be held or summer camps to be held or birthday parties to be held. So we're really restricted in that we can only offer private uses of our space for parties, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but because this business is so seasonal and because we do need to offer things in addition to parties and open play throughout the summer, we're very restricted here in terms of revenue. So again, if you're in Playmaker Society, you guys know all of this detail already, but we've struggled not necessarily with revenue in the summer, but we've struggled with the execution of summer camps specifically in this space. So the first year that we did summer camps, we did full week long, so 5 days, and then we did 3-hour chunks of time. So the children would be signing up for a 3-hour slot, Monday through Friday, either 9 to 12 or 1 to 4. And during that time, we were doing the camps, but we were also doing open play. And because there is really no closed off area for the campers, they were just kind of mixed in with the open play. And not only did it just not feel very safe because all of the kids were kind of commingled, and we tried colored wristbands, we even tried colored t-shirts so that the staff and the parents would know exactly which children were with their parents, exactly which children were part of the camp. But it just didn't really work out, and it got a little hectic. Every single time that it rained, we would get to capacity, and having even 2 counselors for 10 children, so a 5-to-1 ratio, it still just didn't feel like enough. And if we would have had to have another staff member, we would not have made the profit that would have made the camps worth it. So the first year, we just completely commingled the camp kids with the open play kids, and we got a lot of complaints from parents, we got a lot of complaints from our open play members. It just wasn't a good situation. So then the next year, we transformed our gated off baby area into a camp area for the 8 weeks of summer vacation. And this was a problem for a couple reasons. So first of all, in the summer in Western New York, babies are actually our most frequent customers because babies can't really go to playgrounds or play outside as much as the bigger kids can. So parents are actually looking for indoor spaces to take their little ones all throughout the summer, and we were taking that option away from them. So even though they could still, frolic in the main play area, it just wasn't a good situation. We got a lot of complaints. We had a lot of people cancel memberships. We had a lot of people with little babies who were very, very upset. So we didn't do that again the next year. So then the third summer, what we did is instead of doing full 5-day camps, what we did is we closed early on Monday and Wednesday. So we closed at 1:30, and then we did camps from 1 to 4 or 2 to 5. And this was okay, and we made a lot of money. I mean, again, the problem wasn't the revenue. We sold out our camps those first 2 years, and we were able to completely see a non-drop off in revenue. So there was really no seasonality to the business. We were able to really make up for the dip in open play during the summer with those camps. Revenue was not the problem. It was more safety and a customer experience issue. So again, not everything is black and white in this business. Even though those 2 summers looked great in terms of revenue, I was getting complaints every single day. And again, it was a really tough decision as a business owner to make. But I knew that for a long-term sustainable business, we needed to have a great relationship with our customers. So again, that third summer, we closed early on Monday and Wednesday. And even though we sold out those camps, and it was definitely it was much easier to execute the camps when they had exclusive use of our space. Because it was only 2 days a week, we just didn't make enough revenue to make up for that dip in open play that we see over the summer while kids are at playgrounds and doing fun things outside. So that was probably the biggest reason that we decided not to re-sign our lease at this particular location. We really feel like in order to be a long-term sustainable business, we need to have that extra room, if not for summer camps, also for classes and more revenue generating activities while we're open simultaneously for open play. And something that I didn't mention, but I wanna just quick talk about is the hardest part about those summer camps was surprisingly the bathroom situation. So we have 2 family style bathrooms, And when a child had to use the bathroom that was a camp attendant, usually we would have one of the counselors take them and help, because they would have to come out of the gated play area to use the bathroom, and just for safety reasons, we didn't want them to be wandering around the cafe area alone, because there's doors, there's people coming and going. We didn't want to, we really wanted to use an abundance of caution. So a counselor would have to go with them, and then that would take one counselor away from the other children. So the ratio of caregivers to campers would go from 5-to-1 to 9-to-1, from campers to caregivers. So we did not like that at all. It made it very, very difficult. So then what we tried doing like group bathroom breaks. So we would line all of the camp kids up and have them take bathroom breaks individually. But what happened with that is kids were, having to wait 15-20 minutes. Kids were having accidents. And that would pretty much tie up both of our bathrooms for a long period of time during the day, which again caused a lot of customer complaints, a lot of wait times, and it just wasn't a good situation. There was a lot of accidents, not only just from the campers, but also from the open play kiddos who had to wait for all 10 kids to use the bathroom. So again, I really feel like having a separate space for those campers would have made the execution part so much better. And again, even though we made great revenue those first 2 summers, I don't feel like with that same execution and the same level of customer experience, I wasn't feeling like they were actually gonna book again. So again, to be a long-term sustainable business, we really need to have that good relationship with our customers. Another reason that we made the decision not to re-sign this lease was because, again, our space is pretty small. We can really only accommodate about 20 to 25 children in our play area at a given time. And we've just found that we have outgrown this space. So last week was actually, or 2 weeks ago was actually our winter break week, and we were to capacity every single day by 9:30. And even though you guys know we have a very organized procedure for when we do get on a wait list, we have craft activities out, we have a wait list, we have check-ins, but I just didn't feel good about having to turn customers away at 9:30. And again, it was just not the level of customer experience that I would expect from a business, so I didn't want to deliver that level of customer experience to anyone either. So we just decided that we need a little bit bigger space. And one of the other kind of obvious reasons that I have talked about in so many videos, I'll link them below, but our rent is just too darn high at this location. And again, I take full responsibility for that. I take full responsibility for signing this lease. It is nobody's fault but myself that we are strapped to this lease. Well, not anymore, because it's now expiring at the end of this month. And today's actually the last day of this month, so officially our lease is over tomorrow. But I really, when I decided to sign this lease, and again, you guys already know this if you've watched my other YouTube videos, but I really thought that having street visibility was going to be absolutely crucial to our business success. And it turns out that that absolutely wasn't the case. And our West Side location has really proved to be a proof of concept for that. They are definitely more off the beaten path than we are, but they still, even though they're 35 miles away, so they don't really enjoy that same name recognition that we do here. I don't feel like we share a lot of customers. Well, I know we don't, because we use a Louis so we can see who's visiting which location. But I really just wanted a bigger space that was a little bit more off the beaten path, so that we're not paying that premium rent for street visibility. Because as an indoor playground, you're a destination. Parents are not just going to drive by your facility and think, oh, I'm gonna, unbuckle my little ones from their car seat. I'm gonna, derail whatever our plans was for today and just kind of check this place out. That doesn't really happen. Parents are instead gonna be searching online, they're gonna be scouring social media, and they're gonna be asking their friends, and they are going to drive to you. So we're looking in, we are in Victor, which is a very affluent suburb, and we're actually looking in towns that are neighboring Victor, because Victor is very, very expensive to rent in and to live in. So we found that a lot of our customers, and even a lot of our unlimited members, and especially our birthday parties, are coming from 20-30 minutes away. So we're looking kind of in like a 10-mile radius of where we are now, hopefully in a neighboring town, because the rent at our West Side location is like half of what it is at this location. So the revenue is very steady, but we are half as profitable because we have to pay so much more in rent. So we are very, very excited to, again, enjoy a lower rent. We're looking, and we're at about $28 per square feet now, plus triple net. And we're looking at different spaces that are the very same features, very same build out features. You know, they include bathrooms, things like that, a vanilla box build out, which means like drywall but no finishings. And we're looking at like $12 a square foot. And I am so thrilled to be able to, again, hopefully enjoy the same level of revenue or even greater, because we're gonna have a lot bigger space, but we're gonna have a lot cheaper rent so that we can do a lot more with our business and things like that. So I'm very, very, very excited. I'm just looking at my notes. Another thing that really, really factored into us deciding whether or not we were gonna relocate at the end of our lease was, first of all, the re-signing terms. So if any of you guys are negotiating your lease or anything like that, I would highly recommend setting up a re-signing plan. So our lease was 5 years, and there was really no plan in place for if we decided to re-sign. So it just everything kind of ended at 5 years. But what I have since learned, and what I recommend to my Play Cafe Academy members, is have them enter a clause about what's going to happen at the end of the lease. So a lot of times what I've done in my research is I found that landlords will put in something like, you can re-sign this lease for another 5 years at, say, like a 3 to 5% increase or something like that, or some sort of range, but put something in writing that's going to protect you if you decide to re-sign your lease. Because another thing that is kind of going on with this location is that we share a wall with a restaurant, and the restaurant owners actually own the building. So they're also our landlords, and they have decided that their business would be a lot more successful if they added a brewery to it. And so they have been looking to expand into our space, and therefore they kind of are pushing us out. So the lease that they presented us to re-sign for another 5 years was absolutely astronomical. It was something like a 15 to 16% increase, which is way above the standard, which is 3 to 5%. So we just felt like we were getting pushed out. I didn't want to deal with the landlord situation anymore. It was very clear that they were desperate to make this brewery happen for their business. And they were kind of willing to almost lock us into a lease that was really unfair. And of course we hired legal counsel and things like that, but because we didn't have a clause in our lease saying what was gonna happen at the end of our lease, we were kind of limited. So I really recommend, again, talking about what's gonna happen when you re-sign while you're negotiating your lease, even if it seems like a long time away, because 5 years is gonna go by before you know it. And hopefully, you don't have the same mistakes. You definitely won't make the same mistakes I did if you're in Play Cafe Academy, but if you are not in Play Cafe Academy, make sure you protect yourself and make sure that you are really having a lawyer go through that lease with a fine-tooth comb, and make sure they are a commercial lawyer, a commercial real estate lawyer, not just a regular business lawyer, because they know exactly what red flags in leases to look out for. So I highly, highly recommend that. Another thing that we're going to do, so it's the end of February right now, and the last time we opened in like the middle of busy season. So what we're gonna do is we're going to recommend that the new owners do a summer construction. Our opening was delayed several months because of the ground freezing and all sorts of things. So we just kind of decided to, when we sold, that we were gonna do the construction in the summer, and then the new owners were going to reopen in the fall, right at the beginning of busy season, so that they could kind of get their feet wet, get everything adjusted, make any changes that they needed to before that busy season, so they're not just kind of in the throes of it. So that is definitely something that we're going to reconsider this year. I think that was another mistake that we made. But again, the biggest thing is that the rent was just too high. And a big factor that we had to think about when we were deciding whether or not to re-sign was, is the limitation that we're seeing in revenue equivalent to the cost of a new build out, right? Because luckily we have been able to not only recoup our startup costs and pay back all of our loans, so our business is currently debt free. So that was a big factor. If we had a lot of debt, if we still had to repay our loans, then you know what, we probably would have stayed right where we are, because we wouldn't have been able to afford a new build out. But because we have, not only paid back our debt and recouped our startup costs and saved enough capital, through selling and things like that to finance a new build out, and the new owners, of course, are gonna, put forth their own capital. But if we decide to open an indoor playground where we're moving or anything like that, that was a huge factor. But also, we really had to look at, okay, what is this new build out going to cost? And is the revenue that we're losing out on by not having that extra room, by having a space that, we made some major mistakes with, is that going to be equivalent to the cost of a new build out? Because the cost of a new build out, whether it be us doing the build out or the new owners be doing the build out, it's very expensive. So, if we were, really only missing out on a couple $1,000s a year because we didn't have that extra room, then we probably wouldn't have relocated. But based on the success that we've seen in our other location on the west side of town, based on, the increased profitability that they're seeing, the summer camp sales, the class sales, the semi-private party sales, we, have spent the last 6 months really diving deep into those numbers, and we decided, again, we were very lucky to have a second location to be able to compare to this first location. But when I looked at those numbers, I was really honestly shocked. And the amount of revenue that we're going to be able to generate just with that extra space, with extra retail space, with a little bit bigger play area, so our capacity is going to be bigger. We're going to be able to accommodate more than 20 children at a time. We're going to be able to sell more memberships. We're going to be able to do more classes and events, and we're going to be able to partner with more businesses. So when we did the math, and again, this is not speculation, these are the exact numbers that we're seeing with the other location, we just decided that, the cost of a new build out and the cost of relocating is honestly going to be nothing in terms of the long-term revenue that we feel we're going to be able to generate with the new space. And unfortunately, with the indoor playground, or really any brick and mortar business model, you really don't know until you know. So again, I really thought that I checked every single box when I was planning for this space, but I have learned so much over the last 5 years, especially with opening a second location and helping so many Play Cafe Academy members open. We just definitely decided that we could be a much more sustainable long-term business if we relocated our space. And of course, it's very difficult to have our customers see that interruption in service. We're not going to be open at all this summer. So what we're doing during that time is we're going to honor all gift cards and memberships at the West Side location. If somebody wants a refund for their memberships or wants to cancel it, they're absolutely free to do so, and that's just kind of a cost of doing business. But again, the pros are definitely outweighing the cons in the situation. So until we reopen, we're going to be honoring all of those play passes, gift cards, anything like that at our West Side location, and we are going to, again, help the new owners reopen and be back and better than ever in the fall. So the hardest part, and the only part that really makes me a little bit sad, well, first of all, is moving. I'm very sad to leave this area. I'm leaving the house that I brought my babies home to. I'm leaving a lot of memories behind in this town, but it's gonna be so nice to be back with family. But I'm sad that I'm not gonna walk in and see smiling, kids' faces all the time until, we do decide to reopen. And the hardest part is definitely letting go of our team members. The thing that I am most thankful about in this business is the group of incredible people that it has brought into my life. I did a live video on our Facebook page thanking every single employee that we ever had in the last 5 years. I named them personally because each one of them truly impacted this business in a positive way, whether or not the employment ended up working out or not. Every single person that has ever stepped foot as an employee, as a team member, has made an impact on this business in a positive way, whether it was a learning experience or not. So I made sure to thank them each by name, and it was very difficult to do, and that is really the only sad part about this whole situation. Again, we could not be more excited to be finding a new, bigger, better location, and to be selling the ownership of the physical location. And we're very, very lucky. We found the perfect family. So we're very excited, but again, it's very sad to say goodbye to our team, and they're very likely gonna find new jobs over the summer, so we very likely won't be able to welcome them back when we do reopen. Hopefully we do, but again, I totally understand if they're not able to. So that is definitely the hardest part, and I could not have built this business without them. So if you guys are watching, I just want to say thank you. If you guys have ever been a part of this business, just know that I could not have done this without you, and you guys all mean the absolute world to me. So again, one last thing I want to leave you with before I hop off is, a lot of people, especially people that are, financial whizzes or are very into the numbers like I am. I went to school for economics. I knew when I entered this business that, okay, if we weren't profitable, or if we weren't thriving, if we weren't covering our operating costs, I think is like in economics, it's called the shutdown point. I was like, oh, well, I know exactly how to figure those numbers out. I know exactly what numbers to look for. If we're not meeting those numbers, then we'll just close. But in real life, it's really not that black and white. And a lot of people have been asking me, if your location was thriving, why relocate? Why move? Why temporarily close? And again, the answer is really, you have to think long-term. You have to really think about how to build a long-term sustainable business and how to give yourself the life that you want as an entrepreneur. So I knew, again, that we could make a lot more money with the same amount of effort, with the same amount of cost in a new location. And it was very difficult, and I probably honestly held onto this location a little bit too long. We probably could have moved a couple years ago. Obviously we would have had to deal with some legal implications and things like that. So part of me is glad that we, stuck it out till the end of our lease, but I probably, let emotions play into this decision way too much. It should have been a black and white decision. But again, this is the place that I worked with my kids in. I, brought my babies here. I was pregnant with my son here. I remember working behind the counter with my big belly trying to make a latte and bumping into people all the time. I held onto this space and I almost re-signed the lease just based on sentimental and emotional reasons. And first of all, I want to warn you against that because, again, this is a business, and while it is very emotional, and while I do feel like having a passionate owner is one of the biggest keys to success in this business, but it's not that black and white, and it gets messy and it gets sentimental, and I just want to give you guys permission to kind of go through those feelings. And it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to think of your business as a third child. I have 2 kids, so it kind of is like my third child. But it's okay to feel like that, but when it comes down to it, you really have to look at the numbers. And if you're not comfortable with the numbers and you need an outside perspective, then it's worth it to hire someone to look at those numbers. So I ended up hiring someone to kind of really, with a fine-tooth comb, go through the numbers and help me decide, again, if the cost of a new build-out was going to be less than or equal to the revenue potential that we had. So I had to reach out for help. I had to ask for help. Even though I'm a numbers person, even though I have a master's degree in economics, I needed that third-party perspective to kind of take me out of my emotions and help me make a truly business decision. So I am not perfect. I definitely make decisions based on emotions a lot. So if you're like me and if you get very sentimental or very passionate, I highly recommend asking for help and really getting feedback from a third party, whether it's about your lease or whether it's about the space that you're looking at, or really any decision that you feel like you're making based on emotion. It's okay to ask for third party help because it can often provide a lot of clarity and a lot of insight that maybe you didn't see, or maybe again, it could just give some fresh perspective that you didn't think about. So that is the big news that I have for you guys. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, feel free to comment. I would be happy to answer, but we are so excited. I will definitely be sharing all of the details with you guys as they come in, but again, nothing is quite finalized yet. We still have some legal procedures to go through in terms of the new owners and finding a new space, but you guys know that I will be taking you along on the journey with me. So the next couple days, our last day in operation is actually on Monday. So I'm going to be vlogging all of the different things that we're doing. We're going to be putting most of our equipment in storage because, again, we did sell a lot of it to the new owners. So I'm going to be walking you guys through that process so that you can see, really the ins and outs of what it takes to sell a business and things like that. But again, if there is anything specific you guys would like to see, just let me know. I would be happy to do that. So again, thank you guys for bearing with me through this announcement, but we are so excited. So I will see you guys next week. Don't forget to subscribe because I have a lot of exciting stuff coming for you guys very soon.